Oh. All right, Cowboys fans, welcome into How About Wow. It is Monday, week 2. We're getting ready for Cowboys Giants. Cannot wait to preview that game later in the week. Please like and sub on your way in if you do enjoy the channel. We have the latest on Jaden Blue. What's it going to take for him to be activated? Shoddy talked about that today. We have Tyler Booker and Perry and Winfrey stuff to get into. But how much concern do we have for Cowboys wide receiver George Pickens after week 1? Is this a one-and-done situation in the making? Leave a comment down below for your thoughts on George following week 1. One thing is clear to me. The toxic George Pickens has not changed much from his time in Pittsburgh. Take it away, Jimmy.
The only thing else I got to say is, how about this Cowboys?
Yeah, welcome in. I'm Gavin Dawson from The Fan. With me, as always, my favorite big brain football man, New Bear Lesniewski, all academic SEC at Kentucky. How the heck you doing, buddy? Oh, you muted yourself, I think. I can't hear you. You look happy.
Big-brained football man. That's on the medal stand now. It's my favorite football, Neanderthal. Big-brained football man. I like that.
Well, I like it too, man. I love talking Cowboys football with you. Welcome in. How About Wow brought to you by Bet Online. Referral link in the description, up to $250 in bonus bets. Dude, you see what Shoddy had to say today about Pickens? Says each week's going to be different. They did cloud him quite a bit. There were 1 to 2 potential opportunities where the ball should have went to George. We've seen from Dak Prescott, he gets his favorite guys that he trusts, and he can lean on them heavily. But CD was targeted 13 times. George just got the 3. Shoddy added there will be weeks when Pickens gets more than Lamb, and he believes their close relationship will prevent them from having any issues about targets, saying both are genuinely rooting for each other. You know, winning cures all. It came in a loss, but there were several things about George Pickens' body language and his intensity down in and down out that we didn't like from Thursday night's game, New Bear. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this all summer. There's a reason he's here. And when you dog routes or I'm not even talking about freelancing. I'm talking about no lancing, not Trey Lance, no Lance, like no effort whatsoever. And you're going to get a couple of those. How do you mitigate that? Throw on the damn ball. Like, yeah. I was so excited, the hitch route and then the go ball and the pass interference. That doesn't show up in the stats, but it has a dramatic impact on winning and losing football games. When do you start seeing the devil on his shoulder come out? When you don't throw him the ball.
Already did.
Well, but what I was thinking about was, last year, you remember when A.J. Brown was getting all the mental health professionals in the world were just loving him, having his little 50 Shades of Grey moment on the sidelines. He's reading his favorite novella, and that's how he's calming himself down, right? A.J. Brown last year, age 27 season, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. It took A.J. Brown 6 years and a breakout, back-to-back near 1,500-yard seasons, and all-pro, and all. It took A.J. Brown 6 years to pick up a book and get his shit together, and we celebrated him for that. George Pickens is still a young man. George Pickens still football young. George Pickens still very immature.
Okay.
All we know is that if we can figure it out, there's Randy Moss potential in this dude. So why aren't we force feeding this dude?
I think that's a great point. And the play that he almost made was incredible. Guy was holding him and he almost went to the ground and hauled it in with one hand. That would have been catch of the year candidate. But you alluded to it there just a moment ago. Sorry to cut you off, but John Owning tweeted about George Pickens' lackadaisical route running really hurting the Cowboys in some
real thing
key moments. I think that's bigger than anything attitude-wise, and that's why I wanted to jump in there, because I can deal with the attitude, I can deal with the immaturity if you're an absolute dog. And to the point about feed the guy, I think that's a great point. Cowboys had to do the same thing with Dez Bryant. But the difference there was he's a clear number one wide receiver. If this is wide receiver 2 demanding targets and I'm moody and now I'm not giving effort in routes where I'm not the primary or secondary option, that's like actively hurting the football team. And I just don't think that I want to saddle up and hope that that guy grows into it.
Yeah, this is the part that is unexpected for me, because you have Dak Prescott in the huddle. And you have CeeDee Lamb opposite. And you would think that if it was going to come together, what are the requisite elements? You need an adult in the HBC visor. You need a professional under center in the gun, and you need a buddy cop type thing. So we think he has all of those things. What this makes me wonder is who doesn't he respect, or what does he think he's not getting, right? Because this should not be a thing, not just because of hurting the team, but of hurting three. Because if he doesn't get this shit right, he might never see another check the size that his talent should be able to collect.
I mean, it's such a weird deal because it's like I guess it's the only sport that I can think of where you can be amazing and not get the ball enough and just sit there for 3 hours stewing. And he has supreme confidence because he knows what he can do. You know, I think my issue with what Shoddy said is they did cloud him quite a bit. Cut him short and run him across the formation.
Right. We talked about the horizontal vertical stuff. What I mean by that is CD is known for certain things and George Pickens is known for certain things. They should be able to become over time, if not interchangeable parts, have the ability to play off of each other, to layer within concepts. I feel like there was a bit of do. I think George Pickens had some flashbacks to like, oh my God, I do have a professional core. Oh my God, that is CD Lamb. And oh my God, it's just like Pittsburgh. I'm out here. Here's where this gets weird. He dogs a route. He's number 2 or 3 in the progression, and he's like, fuck it, I'm not trying this play. And then the very next play, he's throwing a DB out of the club, putting on like clinic tape for how you stalk block and support everyone. And that is the maddening thing about this. It's like the child with the temper tantrums. Like if you have kids and you've literally looked at a tiny little version of yourself and they are just bad and bad and bad, and then they do the one thing and you go, oh, that's the best version of it. And it makes you forget everything else. And he does that over and over and over again. I am less concerned right now with some of the devil on the shoulder stuff because it's freaking hilarious, first and foremost. Yeah. There's moments where I think he's kind of trolling us and maybe having fun. Like he's that you just think that supersedes and takes. There's nothing brain synapse, CT, ESPN world that we live. He's a savant. Yeah. He's able to do things with because he doesn't have to think. So then when you ask someone like that to think at all, he's going to have fun with the entire world. Where that can't come is at the expense of the team.
Yeah. Yeah, like everybody's got a role in this, right? And I think we can talk a lot about the decisions that Dak Prescott made, and Shoddy referred to a couple of plays. I think Shoddy and the offensive coaches have a role in this. But everybody else is being an absolute professional about the way they're going about their business. And, you know, to see Owning, whose film work I highly respect, he's at Pro Football Focus. He was a longtime beat writer of the Cowboys here in town, maybe not long time, but 3 or 4 years worth, enough to really get a lay of the land. And when he looks at film, it's not from your typical Pro Football Focus perspective. He's really damn good at it. And when he's finding times where, you know, he is actively hurting the team's chances of scoring, I don't know what he's going to get this year. 900 yards and 7 or 8 touchdowns. I just don't think it's worth it. I think this offense can be good enough with a much less talented second wide receiver, or, you know, go get a slot guy, a little guy like Cole Beasley or something to plug in there that Dak Prescott can protect over the middle of the field.
That is where this gets really interesting. If you said, why is this happening? Like, what do you really think is happening? If you're putting Turpin in motion and trying to feature him, you're doing all these things for all these span forward. Like, George Pickens wants the hospital ball. George Pickens wants the ball that almost sent Ferguson 6 feet under. I mean, you talk about getting hit like that in ball placement like that, bang, bang like that. That could be the last play you ever play. George Pickens wants that on every play. So when you have that dog in you and you have that mentality to go through it, and you can't even get like a force feed me a bubble screen, and I got to go wait 45 minutes for me to do something that matters, you're going to lose the dude. And that's that. Like, CD is a professional wide receiver. Not just because he affects the game at all three levels, right? He's got the talent, he's got the work ethic, he's got the professionalism. George Pickens does not. So if you're going to say, we want to find out what this dude truly is capable of, you cannot make him wait. And that's backwards. That's backwards to the culture. That's backwards to the hierarchy. That's backwards to the game. But he's here. You gave up the pick. You spent the whole summer talking about how this was going to click. The onus is on you to not do all these other things for all these other people and expect George Pickens to understand it and get it and wait for it. It's to get out in front of it so that you get the best version of him, and then all the other stuff comes off of that.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is he just knows how good he is and knows he's going to get paid a lot, even if he doesn't march to the beat of somebody else.
Jacksonville, he doesn't care.
Yeah, he really doesn't, and talking with him is fascinating because his personality is unique to just about any other player that I've covered. And I could definitely understand his confidence, his frustration. And you should say that, wide receiver frustration comes with the territory. Tyreek Hill down in Miami, that's probably, the apex of the toxic pyramid. But you have Malik Neighbors in New York, year 2. CeeDee Lamb was highly frustrated in the playoffs, and even the year before that, multiple seasons, CeeDee Lamb very frustrated. Like, his true professionalism really didn't come into full focus until maybe the last 12 months or so. So I'm willing to be patient with a lot of guys. I just don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze here, and if it's worth the risk. Like, coming up in this offseason, let's say George Pickens has an even better year than what I said, and now he wants $35 million. If you got to fix so many things about your team, it comes back to the Micah Parsons thing that they just went through. That $35 million, it could represent 4 or 5 different players. And I'm thinking, man, if Trayvon Diggs does move on, they need a corner. I mean, you'll be down to Revel and Deron Bland really is dependable guys. So you're going to need a third corner still. I think this team desperately needs a linebacker. They need a running back. You might need another left tackle. Unless you get great answers at all these other positions as the year goes on. I think there's no chance you get it at safety or linebacker. I think this team is going to feel like we need multiple positions solved, and we have so much money committed to other places on the roster. I might need that 30 or 35 mil to go spend elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be desired here going forward, and one of the things that I think a lot about is how do you make the math. And I went back and when I wrote some stuff over the summer and looked at not just the numbers, like what could a season like a Randy Moss type thing look like. You remember Randy Moss burst onto the scene, and everyone knows he dunked on people. 19 yards a catch, 17 touches, breaking records. But what's really interesting about young Randy Moss is he got 125 targets. Chris Carter got 124. And what I'm saying is when you get into a situation like this, you have to make it not equitable, not fair. I'm not talking about even the math of it being equal at the end of the day or at the end of 17 games. But in the course of any one game, the biggest thing on your Waffle House play card isn't just get George Pickens the ball to keep him happy or appeased or placated or whatever synonym thesaurus rabbit hole you want to go down, but because doing that is in your best interest when it comes to moving the ball, scoring touchdowns, dictating tempo, personnel, all the things, where if that dude is then looking, saying, hold on for a second, Dak Prescott is forcing balls to span forward and overlooking Turpin, who's running wide open. I'm always bleeping open. Why am I waiting to eat?
Yeah, especially if you're getting that shell cover 2 stuff, that clog and cover stuff. Like, I would trust George Pickens over just about everybody else. I think that's a great point to end this part of the show on, though, that you have George Pickens for this year. And if you're not trying more urgently to find ways to get him involved, you're doing yourself no favors. Up next on How About Wow, we got Shoddy talking about Jaden Blue. Now we go back 6 weeks and for the Glenn Stretch Smith, or maybe that was 2 months ago. The report that we talked about here, he was on the podcast Locked On Sports. That it was unprofessional or borderline lazy, I think, just to paraphrase there. Here's Shoddy after Jaden Blue inactive in week 1, much to the chagrin of fans, especially when Miles Sanders got walked down by a converted defensive end. Shoddy saying, young players, it hits at different times. He's extremely talented. You have to earn your chance to get out there. There has to be consistency. You know, this is taking the classroom to the practice field. This is showing up to the practice field with the same urgency and professionalism. We've talked about maturity a lot with young players. It's a young players league. And I'm willing to be patient with Jaden Blue, but I also think that at this point in his rookie year, my expectations are lower than they've ever been on Jaden Blue. I don't think this year one's going to go great. We heard stories about high school. We heard stories about college, and now we've heard stories about the pro level. Sometimes it's intimidating. Like, I don't know if you take yourself back to 16, 17, 18 years old, your first day on the job around real adults, like you come from this child's world. And even in college, it's just slightly bigger children. And you're all of the same mindset, being goofy and doing whatever impulsively. And now you're in this very intentional and professional environment. I think for some guys, they just don't know how to adapt to it. And there's a failure to launch. And one of two things happen. Either you kind of get used to it, or you get scared that your NFL career is going to be taken away and you buckle down like an absolute savage and a maniac. That being said, some people come from such a toxic background that there's nothing they can do. They don't know the gear in their road to get to that's professional. And these are the guys that, you know, ultimately become your Lance Stevensons of the NFL, or, you know, I guess if you're talented enough, a Tyreek Hill, you know, in pro football, that just gets to be around for a decade because he's that amazing. But very few players are truly that talented.
I mean, 20 years ago when I was in undergrad, 25 years ago, we would joke about and then go through, you know, business school, or, you know, you chase your master's degree and you get a little bit older, maybe right before you get married and have kids and settle down, but you're kind of becoming a grown-up, like you're talking about, right, in this world of grown-ups and becoming a professional. And we would kind of talk about how, like, compressed the class cycles we're getting, right? Every 4 years wasn't just a new class of kids going through school. It was a different generation of people. And now that's happening twice as fast as that, right? Gen Z becomes alpha, becomes beta, because of how the whole damn information, the history of the world is in this thing in your pocket, right? And it goes to outer space. And we make jokes about that. And these kids have spent their whole lives online, never being told no. Now they're getting paid in college. Like, this is the last of the Mohicans. This is the end of the road. This is the last era where you got guys, the rookie and the vet, with 10 plus years, and that is literally old school. Like, Dak Prescott might as well be a boomer when it comes to how he grew up versus how Jaden Blue grew up. And now those dudes, they can't share a huddle because 4 doesn't think 23 is with it, so he doesn't trust them, so Shoddy can't. And what all I'm saying as we get back through this is it's all hearsay to this point. No one's put anything on business. You were talking about what not remembering what was said. It was intimated that Blue was showing up hungover, that he was out partying, and there was all kinds of crazy stuff flying around.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are people going back through high school and college who are willing to stand up and say he organized workouts, or he stepped up and he showed out and he brought guys together. Like, there were people who are willing to do the opposite in a positive way. And what I have to believe right now with this young man is that this is the challenge. Maybe you don't think you can say something like this publicly about Pickens that you sure as shit can't say to Pickens. But for someone who hasn't done anything yet, you can send that message through a PR headline, because we all just watched Miles Sanders get walked down by the converted defensive end, who he's 20% faster than, or 16 hundredths of a second faster than, and he looked like he was running in quicksand. And everyone's talking about how if Jaden Blue has the ball in his hands, that's a touchdown. That's a lead. That is momentum. We are living in a different game, in a different world. Forget about the fumble. The fumble play never even happens because you scored 3 plays ago.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, you're playing George Pickens, even though he's lackadaisically going through routes. You're playing Jalen Tolbert, even though he looks clueless out there, and, you know, his run blocking, or his, you know, just blocking in general was horrible. You also had CeeDee Lamb. We hadn't talked about this, New Bear. Broadus revealed to us today on that first drop that was over the middle of the field, that ball was intended for Tolbert. CeeDee Lamb saw the ball go into the air and improvised that I'm going to go get this thing. So you got a number of guys kind of doing their own thing, but you can't put your fastest tailback by a long shot on the field. I just wonder how, because I mean they're willing to be patient with a lot of other dudes. Like, how dysfunctional is it? Is it just pass pro stuff, or is this like actually learning the playbook and knowing your responsibilities that could be frustrating this team that appears to have a lot of patience for other players?
This part of it is that it's all speculation, right? There's nothing on, and so what I want to see is, what don't you trust? Because you paid Miles Sanders next to nothing because his career was dead, and he just proved why. So what else does he have to do wrong before you give someone else a chance who can at least run?
Yeah, let me crack you a cold beer for that one. It's Dawson and New Bear here. How about wow? Hit the like button if you enjoy the discussion. It helps let YouTube know that they should show the video to more people. We'd really appreciate the growth. Okay, up next here on How About Wow, I got some Tyler Booker content here for you. Then we're going to do this Perry and Winfrey news before we get out of here. Highest graded rookie offensive lineman Armand Membu of the Jets had a hell of a game with an 89. You come down here to Tyler Booker. He's got a 55.7, which is passing, I guess, fifth best. He also had Nick Harris had a quote from Tyler Booker today. I feel like I have a lot of room for improvement. There's a lot that I need to get better at. I'm not going to sit here and say it's my worst performance ever, but at the same time, to be who I want to be and where I want to be, I have to play a lot better than I did on Thursday. I mean, a lot of offensive linemen don't have perfect games. Tyron Smith at right tackle, I remember his struggles his rookie year. It's rare that you get a Zach Martin. Like, these things happen. I mean, Tyler Smith at the start of his career, his rookie year was shaky. So willing to be very patient with this guy. And there's a lot to like already, including his attitude about what needs to get better.
Broderick Jones in Pittsburgh is getting all this flack for how bad he played in week one, coming off of how bad he played last year. And you go, how bad did he really play? And you look into the data, he played 1,100 snaps. He gave up 10 sacks. That's second worst in the league. This is Broderick Jones in Pittsburgh. He was not good. He gave up 10 sacks. 10 sacks, double-digit sacks. If a pass rusher does that, he goes and gets $100 million. If you give that up, you get cut. And at the same time, you play 1,100 plays. At 1,000, I think it was like 1,071 plays. So 1,060 times this dude was right. 10 times. 10 times he was wrong. Like, the thing that's so great about all this stuff is, in the same way we were just talking about generational gaps and the compression of it, and this being the end of it, and how quickly we're going to just turn into everything being Juju Smith-Schuster fever dreams on TikTok that threatened everything that, the storied franchises, the tried and true standard is the standard, like Pittsburgh Steelers culture wars, right? And that was a few years ago. People forget about that. And now this stuff's all happening on fast forward. It's happening in living color. People's moms are talking, people's brothers are tweeting, and it's everything from Micah Parsons' guaranteed money to what Jaden Blue did or did not do in high school, right? And we're unpacking this stuff live, and we're going through it, and we're breaking it down. And Tyler Booker is none of that. Tyler Booker is class. Tyler Booker is, I need to do better. Tyler Booker was just top 5. Tyler Booker was just, he could be sailing into this week saying, my bleep don't stink. And all he's talking about is how much more I need to do. And this is why the old heads love him. This is why he's such an endearing young man. This is why him and Tyler Smith buddy cop movie is even better than Pickens and CeeDee ever had a chance to be. Because, oh, by the way, BB is in the middle of that thing.
Yeah. And he gave this interior of the line, the final missing piece, a young, super strong guy. And you really saw it in short yardage and their running efficiency. And I'm excited about what those 3 guys on the inside can do. I did want to get your thoughts on this because we spent a lot of time talking about Tyler Booker, looking at tape. The stunts gave him a problem. I think when he tries to get out and run and get to the second level, that linebacker is going to make him look like he is on skates. I do wonder long term how much of the stuff that he needs to improve on he can get better at. Certainly there's awareness, right? When the stunt happens, I need to backpedal and slide, or I need to get the handoff, from the other guy. But I think a lot of it is just basic athleticism and coordination of hitting things while on the move, which is a difficult thing for a lot of humans to do. I just think that's the place where he's a little bit more human. And I'd wonder from your perspective, like how developable is that? I mean, you're kind of talking about hitting a baseball.
Right. The hardest thing to do in sports, hit a baseball. Second hardest thing to do, the argument is play quarterback or cornerback, because one of them you're doing backwards. But you know what I'm interested in is Jaden Daniels here. And you go, what does a quarterback have to do with virtual reality? What I'm interested in is, where does this thing trickle down, not just from the guys who run fast and jump high, but to the guys who are just in there banging heads in the trenches, where you're able to, and maybe this is like beyond even next gen stats, because all the virtual reality stuff now and what Jaden Daniels and quarterbacks like him do in those settings, what they get out and do is they simulate the game environments, and it's about spatial awareness, and it's about bringing the environmental factors into it to just train you into a place so that it's like I just made a joke about fever dreams, but it's like Sunday becomes almost like sleepwalking because you've been in that scenario before, and you can taste it, smell it, touch it, feel it. It's cold, it's hot. It's not just like a grease board, and it's not just your Xbox. And what I'm willing to see, the first thing I was going to talk about was like Pilates. You know, Jake Arrieta, like pick your favorite baseball pitcher, not just coming back from injury, but going from good to Cy Young, going from Cy Young to World Series. Look back over time at some of the guys who took these, whether it's kickboxing, right, martial arts, Pilates. What are the elements that he's going to bring in from a physical perspective? And then what are the elements that he's going to add to that from a spatial awareness and from a what's available today via technology to allow you to take what you do and what you don't have and to take that to the max.
All right. Final topic here on How About Wow. Malik Hooker not at the portion of today's practice open. Reporters Perry and Winfrey also not on the field. He's been put on injured reserve. Just number one, immediately, I don't want to play games without Malik Hooker. I know he's not the best run defender, but he is so fearless. He's so good. He's usually Johnny on the spot. He might not secure the tackle, but he definitely is going to slow the ball carrier down. And I think last year he was top 3 on the team in run defense grade Pro Football Focus. Take her for what it's worth. But then with Perry and Winfrey, that's just a bummer because I absolutely cannot wait to get Kenny Clark and Osa and Solomon Thomas and Perry and Winfrey in this defensive tackle rotation. I think he's got the potential to have multiple Pro Bowl seasons in his career. I don't think that's too high on Perry and Winfrey.
So many. I mean, you can't talk about. I mean, there's so many dudes, just like dudes being bros in helmets and shoulder pads on this team. And if Diggs, like you were talking about earlier, is healthy and you get Revel back and Overshown and any luck going forward with this stuff, we've talked about how do you get to the bye and then how do you put yourself in a position to come out of it. And, you know, I said all summer, the Philly game is going to be, I mean, the blue part of the fire. It's opening night. It's the defending champs. It's Dak, and does he still have it, and all these other moving parts. But that week 2 game is going to tell us as much about this team as anything that's going to happen across 2025. Because you talk about dysfunctional, you talk about young and hungry, you talk about opposite ends of the spectrum, coaches coaching for their jobs, GMs GMing for their jobs, players playing for their livelihoods, right? Russ's career might be over based on what happened last week.
Oh, yeah.
And then, oh, by the way, there's these just monsters up front playing games, and Devin Booker struggles with that, and all these things are going to collide in week 2. And we talked about getting answers in week 1, and we literally came out and said, is this the best loss ever? Look how much hope we have. And the dangerous thing about hope, right, is that you still gotta go out there and do the damn thing. And this week is one of those, you know, people want to call it a trap game. You know, people want to talk about like when you play, who you play, who's available, all the elements that go into that game. This has to be one of those just come out, hair on fire, leave no questions, take no prisoners. Because if you bleep around, you might find out. And then that hole is probably not shovelable whether you go to Home Depot or Lowe's.
I don't think Dak Prescott's ever lost to the Giants. But, you know, I don't think that's about to start happening. That Giants offense was just brutal. First team since the 40s, I think, to not score a touchdown week 1 in 4 straight seasons. Like how Dayball has not been fired yet is incredible. But The injury news hasn't been good really since the second week of camp and not getting any better. So we'll have updates later on in the week as we get them. I think the key with Perrion Winfrey is hopefully it's just, a strained back or, something that's going to take at least an additional 4 weeks. But once you start talking about IR and back, I think slip disc or herniated disc, stuff like that comes into
You ever
play.
hurt yours? You ever hurt your back?
Yes.
You can't do anything.
No.
One of the dumbest things I ever did in my entire athletic career was we'd go to the dunes after we go do more stuff on our own. Now there might have been adult beverage involved and certainly a femme fatale or both. So there were reasons beyond conditioning, if you follow me. And I took a digger off the top of the dune and went ass over tea kettle and hurt my back like in a cartoon Marvel comic stuntman thing gone wrong, and had to do the electrodes and all this other stuff. And I think I was like 16 turning 17 that year, and I felt like I was 175 years old. I'd never messed up my back, never tweaked my, hurt knees, hurt shoulders, hurt broken bones in half, like done nasty things. But it doesn't matter if you're 16 or 86. You tweak a back, it debilitates everything.
No, the strength, the balance, it's all gone. I mean, luckily, as you get older, and I'm a few years older than you, I figured out the motions, the fatigue level, the hydration level that will create the bad back, and I can just avoid those at all costs. And you finally get a great appreciation for the idea of lifting with your legs and not your back, so you can kind of work around it. But for Perrion Winfrey, young man, career just getting back on track. Unfortunate for him. Hopefully we have an update a little bit later on in the week. How About Wow is brought to you by Bet Online. Referral link in the description, up to $250 in bonus bets. The best online sports book. It also has poker tournaments, esports, horse racing, casino, live betting. Get it all with Bet Online. All right, my man, great show. Back later in the week with Cowboys-Giants preview and instant reaction for breaking news as it happens. Please like and subscribe on your way out so you don't miss an upload. And until next time, how about wow?